Bonnie. Welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be working again in my reading journal. So we're going to add in all the things that I read throughout the month of October. So we're starting out here with my Archer and Olive notebook. I absolutely love working out of this book. It's been so much fun throughout this year. And the first page that I always go to when I start my journal is the What I Read page here. So this one's really fun. I print off these photos at a 0.7 by 1.1 size. And I know that's very specific, but I got it to a size that I enjoyed. So I print my photos off at that size, and then I just kind of add them on as kind of a quick glance of everything that I've read throughout the month. Now, whenever I started this book, this was my very first time ever documenting books that I was reading like this. So I didn't know how many books I was going to read during the year. I had a little bit of a goal, but now I've surpassed that. So I need to add a bit more here onto this spread. So what I decided to do, just something that was really easy, I tore a piece of paper out from like the back area of the book so that it would be the same type of paper. I roughly just decided what size I wanted, cut it off, and then I'm adhering a little bit. I just kind of created a hinge just by simply folding the paper and only adhering that fold down. So it would create kind of like a little tip in or a little hinge there without washi or anything. And I am going to add back on my stickers that I had to pick up, and then I'll add all of my other books into this kind of like flap area for the rest of October, November, and December. So I say that I didn't use washi, but actually as I'm adhering my books down into this flap, I didn't love the little crease that was created whenever I adhered down this paper. So I am going to grab some washi that I had nearby. It's kind of a really light mint color, and I'm just going to add that inside to cover up that little crease area, and I think it looks a lot better. There's definitely enough room to add this, so I think that helped a lot. So I'm just going to add that little piece down. It's really just for decorative purposes, and then I'll pop my stickers back into place as well. So all of these stickers are just from Pip Sticks. I just kind of went onto their website, and then I looked up reading themed stickers or book themed stickers and grabbed a few that I thought would work out. And then I always keep these smiley faces and things like that in my stash. So it was really easy to just add a few cute little things here and there. So actually, I don't end up decorating that flap right now because I'm not sure exactly what I want to do. I might just get another large sticker from Pip Sticks. So they do have like larger vinyl stickers. I might grab one of those and add that on because I've done that throughout in this album. So that's what I'm considering. So I'm sure by next month you'll see whatever I end up doing. So my next spread is always my favorite book of the month, and so I popped that on really quickly, and then I move on to my Bookshelfie. So for this one, it's just another way to kind of document all of my books. This has a printable included that I use, so I will link that below as well if you want to grab that for yourself. It's from Etsy, and then I color coordinated this with just like a system that I made up where all of the blue are audiobooks, the pink are physical books, and the yellow are Kindle. Now, I've probably mentioned this in other videos, but I definitely would not do the same system next year because I do kind of document that same thing in the monthly stats page, and I really don't need to have that twice. And I think it would honestly be more fun if I did the 5-star rating here. So I think that's what I'm going to do next time, and I'm going to have a color for 1 to 5 stars so then I can see the range of the star ratings that I give on my Bookshelfie. So that's kind of my idea for next year, so we'll see how that goes. This is definitely just a trial and error type book. I love the way my reading journal has turned out, but as far as what I've actually documented, I'm just learning as I go what's worked, what hasn't worked, and I'll kind of tweak it for next year. So as far as 2022 goes, I'm just going to keep going with the same system, and then once I start 2023, I will probably document a few different things or different ways now that I'm like used to documenting all of my reading. So one thing that I love that I always do is a 2-page monthly spread of my stats for the month. So I always use my Honey and Spice Alpha stamp set from Heidi Swap, and I stamp on the month with stats at the top, and then I make these little boxes. So like I said, this is an Archer and Olive notebook, and it has little tiny dots, which really helps with drawing everything. And I don't use a ruler or anything. I don't mind if my lines are a little wonky. Sometimes I actually prefer that. So I just draw out 3 boxes. Typically, I just do 6 dots across and 6 dots down. They're not always perfect. I've definitely done some that were 7 and variations, but typically that's what I do. And then I use my Dymo label maker. I had orange tape, so I was able to kind of do an orange theme here for October. And I just use the label maker to spell out fave and then least and then pages. This is another thing that I think I will change next year. So right now I'm always documenting my favorite book in more detail, because on the favorite book spread that I did previously, I only put the book cover there. I don't talk about it. So I always talk about my favorite book, my least favorite book, and the page count. I don't mind the page count, but favorite and least favorite, I don't think I'm going to document in this way next year, because sometimes I don't have a least favorite book I've found. Sometimes it's kind of hard to pinpoint a least favorite one that I didn't like so much that I want to talk about it. That's been something that's been kind of a challenge for me each month. So I think I'm going to change that up for sure. And another thing I would love to do on my monthly stats is I would love to have it really big, the total number of books that I read that month. I think that that would be really cool. So right now what I do inside of those 3 boxes is I write down audio, ebook, and physical again, and then I pop in how many books I consumed in whatever way. So hopefully that makes sense. You'll see it as we go. But just I've been kind of thinking about next year's album and how I'm going to change things up. Actually, I have about half of this book left, so my plan is to just continue with this same Archer and Olive notebook for next year, because I have a ton of pages left. It's a little big just from working out of it, but I think that it will be fine to continue with. So this was a really slow book month for me. I only read or listened to 6 books this month, but I did enjoy the majority of them. So I read Look Closer, and that one is a thriller. It kind of had You vibes, if you've watched You off of Netflix, kind of like serial killer couple kind of vibes there. So that one was really interesting. It had some twists and turns that I enjoyed. Then I also read an amazing graphic novel called Pumpkinheads that I just adored. It was my favorite book of the month. I just loved it so much. It was such a sweet story about 2 friends that worked at a pumpkin patch, and it was their last year working there. They worked there every year, but it was their last year because they were going away to college, and it just had all of the cozy vibes, and it was just a really sweet story. So I absolutely loved it. If you love going to the pumpkin patch, if you love October and all of the autumnal feels, you've got to pick that one up. It's really good. Then I also read another graphic novel called Snot Girl. That one's kind of hard to describe, but it's kind of about a fashion blogger, influencer, and a murder that may or may not have happened. And it's just really interesting dynamic there in that book. Then our book club pick of the month this month was In the Company of Witches. So I'll talk about that in a little bit. But I also listened to 2 Joanne Fluke books this month. So if you're not familiar with those, that is a cozy mystery author who has written so many books, and they're always named after food. So the ones I read this month were the Strawberry Shortcake Murder and the Blueberry Muffin Murder. So they're cozies. And for whatever reason, they keep me coming back. I have a love-hate relationship with them, and the kind of worst book, I guess, that I read this month was The Blueberry Muffin Murder. I gave it 3 stars, but like I said, I didn't really hate any of the books that I read this month at all. But yeah, I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with those books, and I'm sure you'll hear more about that next month, because one of them that I've already read for November, I have some thoughts and feelings. But they were written in the early 2000s, so I think there's a bit of a disconnect with them. So we'll get into that at another time. But yeah, those were the 6 books that I consumed this month. So now I'm adding on my total page numbers, and you can see I completely flubbed up all of the numbers. Like, just about every one of them turned out horribly. So I had a little bit of that paper left from the tip-in that we did earlier. So I just went ahead, stamped it on that, and fussy cut it out and popped it in. It works good enough for me. It doesn't have to be perfect in here. That's great. And now it looks a lot better. So then another section that I have, the next section that you come to are the book reviews. So every month, if I have any books that in particular I really loved, or just books that I want to further talk about, they're not necessarily all my 5-star books or anything like that. They're just books that I want to continue to talk about a little bit more. I will add here in my reviews section. So I just print off the book cover again, and then I type out a little book review that I've created, and then I will just simply stamp on whatever number it is. So we're up to book number 20. So I think I will probably have another 2-page spread just like this for November and December. I don't have any particular amount that I talk about each month. Sometimes it's 2 books, 3 books, maybe 1. I think one time I had like 5 books I talked about. So it just totally depends. I add that on, and then I always kind of outline my stamping with just my pen. So that's super easy because I do all of the work beforehand with creating the review. Here's my cozy bingo, and I did already do my bingos for this month. I had a few to put in there, but I always just add on little stickers to whatever bingos that I managed to get that month. And now the last thing that I always document is my book club. So you'll see that I had that one page where I include the book cover for every month, and then we go on to another 2-page spread where I kind of create the page for each individual book that we read each month. So this was another thing that I wasn't sure exactly how I wanted to document our book club whenever I started the reading journal. And so I definitely think I'll probably change it up for next year, but I'm happy with it for now. So I always stamp out the month title at the top. Sometimes I've been doing kind of abbreviations, which is perfectly fine with me. I'll add a few stickers just for fun. And then for whatever reason, I started to take a selfie of me with the book, really just for like my project life, or to maybe pop on my Patreon, or to pop on Instagram or something. And that's just been a thing that has continued throughout all of the months now. So now it's like a thing that I do. So every time, like a little bit before we have our Zoom meeting where we discuss the book, I'll take a little selfie holding the book, and then I always add it in here. And I do think that it's kind of a fun touch. So I print that off as a 3x4 and pop that right into the top. And then once again, I use my label maker and I spell out thoughts and meeting. And then I will add my little lines underneath there. And then I always kind of write out my general thoughts about the book, if I would read, if I would like read the next one, if I would continue with the series or not, if I personally enjoyed it, things like that. And then for the meeting, I always kind of talk about how the meeting went in general, the vibe of it, of people liking the book. Was it just unanimous and everyone loved it? Did we have kind of mixed reviews, things like that? And then what I started to do as well was I would always stamp out the number of people in attendance at the meeting. So I'll do that here as well. So the last thing on the right side of the page, I always include this kind of like just free little printable with each Cozy Book Club discussion, where we will just talk about, 1 to maybe 8 or 9 questions about the book and kind of just talk it through, and that gives us a guide for the meeting. So I typically always just print that out and write out everything and add it into my journal, just so I have a little bit more in-depth about whatever book we're reading. So here I'm going to stamp out that we had 9 people. We had such a fun book club meeting. We had some new people there, which was super, super cool. And it's always great to have the same people at every meeting as well. I love that I've kind of created this little group of friends who enjoy reading the book each month and then coming to discuss it. I've never been a part of a book club before, so it's just been a real joy. So now I'm just going to pop on all of my journaling, but of course I won't make you sit through that, so that'll be over really quickly. And then I'll give you a little flip through of everything that we did today. So I really hope that you enjoyed this flip through and this process. I'm loving this album. I hope that you are as well. And I hope that y'all have an absolutely wonderful day. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a like and please subscribe. And of course, I will be back super soon with another video. So thanks again, you guys. Talk to you later. Bye, y'all.